it's such an uncomfortable topic to talk about, especially for a guy, young guys in their early 20s. And, I'm glad that, I could tune in and, listen to you guys.
Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey guys, welcome to the broadcast. Phone number is 888-659-3727. Friday, December something.
19th.
2025, end of the year. I mean, I just can't believe how fast this year is gone.
I know, it's nuts.
And life in general. But the good news is, at least I didn't get an effed up hair transplant. That's how I feel about it.
It's a great segue. It's a little early, but it's good.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I made a post today. I made a post yesterday, okay? These were images of a relatively young guy. I'm not even going to say how old he is. I don't want to give too much away. But he had a hair transplant way too young.
Yeah.
These doctors, he went to, I think it was 2 dermatologists and 1 plastic surgeon in the end. That's how it worked out. And now he's going to another physician who's going to repair him. And we can talk about that in time. But if you take a look at the post, you will see that his entire crown was transplanted with beard hair. And the only thing that was left after a moat was created is some beard hair that sadly kind of looks like he has a patch, a target of pubic hair on the top of his scalp, and everything else has receded. And everyone's saying, well, it's probably because he wasn't on meds. That's not the case. Poor guy wasn't even told. And this guy is actually a physician now. Poor guy was not even told that medication was necessary at the time. Got on medication later on. During this time, he wanted to have, these doctors said that he didn't have enough donor, so they decided to use these biofibers, this artificial hair that's only sold in Italy now, and I think China, maybe someplace else. Japan, sorry, China. And so what you're seeing is a completely scarred scalp, severe hair loss from trauma, and he just wasn't a tremendous, from what I understand, responder to medication. If you take a look at the donor, and again, you can go to my Instagram, you'll see that the donor has miniaturized significantly as well. Now, with all that said, forget about the fact that this guy had these fake implants as well, these biofiber implants as well. The reality is, even without those implants, this guy was not a candidate for hair transplant surgery. And if anyone really would have taken a look at his hair using dermoscopy, a dermatoscope, using a digital microscope, a densitometer, they could have tracked this young person, said, listen, let's put you on finasteride at the time, see how you do. Let's see if you can stabilize and even regrow some of the miniaturized hair in the donor. And then we can kind of assess how long a transplant may last and how much hair we should move, and try to be as appropriate or conservative as possible and see if, in fact, you can maintain the donor as well as the transplanted hair for, say, a decade, which is possible. Even if a guy is not a tremendous responder, it's possible to get you back into an anagen phase, which will keep that hair growth phase. It could be 3 years, 7 years, 10 years, depending on the person. And if you're a very good responder, that anagen phase could, you could have 2 or 3 cycles.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're flying overseas, or even here in the U.S., if someone doesn't know exactly how much wood they have to use essentially to make a deck, and they don't know how much of that wood is rotting, and they decide to utilize that rotting wood when they're making this deck, the deck's going to fall apart. And it's the same thing with a hair transplant. I don't understand why you kids can't get that through your effing heads. How difficult is it? It's such a simple concept. And obviously I understand to some degree because the industry does not want you to know this. The industry wants you to think that, and same with the online world now, you know what? If you take this medication, all you have to do to ensure your hair transplant is solid is to take this medication, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
There's a possibility of that. That's pretty strong. No meds, no hair transplant. That should be the mantra for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But what about, hey, let's make sure you're a candidate for hair transplant surgery. Let's take a really good look at your scalp right now. And let's put you on this medication and let's track you. Let's give it 6 months. If the doctor wants to rush you in, let's give it 6 months. We'll track you and see if you're responding well, and then we'll have a better assessment. I would say a minimum of a year. Who's going to do that? They're not going to be booked out for 2 years if they do that. They're not going to get you be able to pay for their kids' tuition and their Mercedes lease and their third wife.
Well, I'll tell you, there are some doctors that'll do it, but I'll tell you the doctors that won't do it. And it's the doctors pushing for social media worthy big sessions.
Oh, of course not. How's my hair, by the way?
Outstanding.
Thank you.
Outstanding. And I don't mean out in the field. Looking good.
Thank you.
So I want to jump into unless we have calls. Do we have calls?
Come on.
Of course not. I want to jump into today's subject because I was actually dealing with this subject before we went on air. Part of the reason why we're late, so do apologize for that. But I was in a discussion, a real fun Reddit talk.
Those are always the best, man.
They're the best. And there was a guy that asked a fairly benign question, asking about a doctor that does some really big sessions. And he's asking, why aren't there any independent results other than 2 or 3 that he's found online? And how can it be justified as the best? Now, there's all kinds of ways that discussion can go. But I replied to this, and I talked about how, just because you can do a lot of graphs in a session doesn't mean that you're the best. There can be other shortcomings that I won't go into. But I basically said that such large sessions are irresponsible. And I stand by that statement. And a couple of people replied with some basic follow-up questions, and not a big deal. But then someone decided to reply. Someone I've never spoken to before. I didn't even know who this person was up until, I'd say, this year, even though he's apparently been on forums and such for a while.
That's all you have to hear. If this guy's been involved in the forums, that's it. You got a battle on your hands, brother. Tell me. I'm interested.
No, it's not a battle. But he decided that he wanted to challenge me by saying that he's genuinely interested in my position that I just took, given my history of having worked with in the past clinics that perform large surgeries. And he said, I'll go ahead and say that it's Dr. Zarev that they're talking about in Bulgaria. And he said something very interesting. He said, you work with this clinic and that clinic, and they do large sessions, albeit not as large as Dr. Zarev, blah, blah, blah. And I had to read that a couple times because I'm thinking to myself, did you not see what you just wrote? And so I just replied. I said, question asked, question answered. They don't, they're not doing these huge giant sessions. Seems like a stretch to compare the two scenarios, or the scenario with him versus anyone I've worked with. And this, I thought it was over with because it's kind of a silly comparison. But he decided to double down, and he wanted to push this. And he said it's not a stretch at all. And he has this big multi-paragraph reply. And in this reply, he basically calls me out and says, he reiterates the issue where I've worked with clinics in the past where he says, quote, 6,000 graft surgeries were their bread and butter, unquote. And then the second thing that he calls me out on is that I need to name a number of what the
I don't mean to interrupt, but I've known you for how many years? Yeah, I am.
I'm sorry?
And I've known you for how many years now? 20-something years? 20 years?
20-something years, yeah.
What clinic did you work with whose bread and butter was 6,000 grafts?
None.
Okay.
There has never been a clinic that's existed where their bread and butter, quote unquote, existed on the premonition of. Did I use that word right? No. The idea of getting 6,000 grafts.
I would say, Victor and Jerry were pushing the envelope back in the day with strip, but you would see 4,500 grafts, 5,000 grafts, and it was still not. It was still not the average case.
No, the average case was 4,000.
Yeah.
Like at the peak, the average case was 4,000.
Yeah. And that was
there
strip.
were 6,000 graft cases. There were 7,000 graft cases. There were even a few 9,000 graft cases. Those were outliers.
Right.
And those are relative only because no matter how many grafts you're taking what the donor allows based on laxity, movement, so on and so forth. But the areas above the strip scar and below are still virgin territory.
Of course.
Okay?
It's a strip, people.
It's a strip.
Yeah.
We're talking about FUE.
Yeah.
To get even that kind of number, 6, 7, 8, 9,000 grafts, you have to utilize the entire. You can't even call it the donor area because it's a donor area per se, but it's not the safe donor area.
It's crazy.
Which is not just dictated by where a strip can go. It's dictated by where that ring exists when you go to a Norwood 19.
Right.
You still have that little ring of hair around the back and sides.
That usually thins when you're at that point. But go ahead.
But all that notwithstanding, it hit me when I'm talking to this guy who is actually a repair patient, who has had at least I think at least a couple, maybe 2 surgeries to repair a previously bad surgery from a good clinic. Just didn't work out. I don't know the details. I didn't look, but it hit me. He's a consultant for a clinic now, and that clinic is trying to become one of the destination clinics for large sessions.
What I love about our relationship is that we don't talk until this show. So everything is a surprise to me too.
Yeah.
So I can't even guess who this is, and I don't know if you want to tell me, and maybe you'll tell me after the show, but there is a doctor in the UK that I know has really been trying to push the envelope online. I don't know if that's the same guy. I'm not going to mention any names.
It is. It's the same guy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the same guy.
So what's the hard on with this consultant then? I don't even understand why he would come out publicly and do this.
Well, because
if it's the same guy, this guy's supposed to be known as an ethical physician who would only work with people who aren't going to go online and try to cause, some sort of tumult.
Well, you'd think, and I don't even know if he knows that this is going on. And the doctor is Ted Milne, whom I used to work with. But it's his consultant who is coming at me, and while I'm writing this reply, it hit me that he's trying to sidestep, indirectly defend the use of 8,000 grafts in a session, because that's the size session that Ted did on this guy through a hybrid procedure, hybrid strip and FUE.
Well, that's different.
And it just blows my mind that a repair patient of all people, who knows what it's like to have a bad outcome, would not only try to defend the idea of big sessions, would actually come at me for trying to dissuade, not in this thread, but for being anti-big session. I don't understand it. Like, you would think that anyone that has a bad experience with surgery and then gets repaired, and then maybe they've come to understand the idea that, you know, people need to, you know, go slow with these things and not jump the gun and like do a big session up front. It just seems to me like maybe something would click and you'd be more for patient safety as opposed to clinic reputation and social
clicks.
media bragging rights.
In general, once these guys, it doesn't matter how screwed up they've been, once they enter into that realm, it's kind of like something shuts off. I've seen it countless times.
But it doesn't mean that something was on to begin with. That's the thing. Like, maybe, look, I don't know this guy from Adam. I really don't. I felt it was strange how he came at me out of nowhere. Like, there was no introduction. There was no, you know, he says, genuinely curious. Well, if you're genuinely curious, then why do this out in the open? Like, maybe send me a message, say, hey, I have no idea. Late 20s or 30s, I don't know. I saw his picture in his profile, I think on where he used to post, but I don't know. But I thought it was strange. Why? Okay, if you're genuinely curious and you're in the industry, why don't you just send me a direct message? Say, what's your reasoning for this? Like, I don't, you know. Well, maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong.
If he's used to the foreign world, and now that you're telling me who the physician is, he's used to being involved in a forum that, you know, this is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, these places are toxic places. So this is just kind of like part of the way that these people operate. I don't know this guy, obviously. I mean, he may be a really nice guy, but it's kind of like road rage. You know, when people are in their cars, they think they could somehow.
That's a really good.
Yeah, they think they could somehow. You know, they rage in a way that they would never. Like if you bumped into somebody in the street or someone cut you off in the street, like walking on a sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think anyone would be like, "I'm going to get you," or like rage?
Yeah.
They'd be like, "Oh, excuse me." If someone said, you know, whatever. That's the way it is. But if you're in a car, it's a totally different story. That's the forums in a nutshell.
No, that's a fantastic point. And I want to play devil's advocate where it's like, maybe he just didn't even, maybe he wasn't thinking like this. Maybe he wasn't trying to indirectly defend what his own clinic is doing. I don't know. But it just hit me when I was writing a reply that that's the only thing that could explain why he's trying to, like, you should see the thread, like, or see what he's saying, where he's trying to pigeonhole me into giving some sort of binary response, some sort of black and white number. Okay, well, if you go over 5,300 graphs, that's irresponsible. I don't know.
But am I wrong about this? I was under the impression, at least from Ted himself, that he is doing hybrid procedures. So it's not moving 8,000 FUE graphs in one session. It's a hybrid procedure with maybe he's getting, 3,000 of the graphs from the strip. And then he's going in via FUE. So that is a much more reasonable approach, in my view, than going, all FUE. It still can put a patient in potential jeopardy because if things don't go well in those 2 days, they lost a lot of hair in that bank.
Well, here's why I don't think, I understand what you're saying, and I agree to an extent where you're going to have less of a, the only benefit to that, to the hybrid, is having less of an impact to the donor as far as the potential for depletion, right? My concern isn't so much donor depletion as it is just blowing your load in one shot.
Like I said, I just said that, and I feel the same way. Like, to me, for a patient to take that chance without knowing how they're going to respond to the initial hair transplant, especially if one session, say 3,000 or 4,000 grafts, can really get them to a much better place.
Yeah,
I don't see why anyone would want to push those numbers, because if something happens, if there's a physiological issue that no one could have calculated or put into this equation, they're fucked.
Well, I'd like to put this out to to not just this consultant, but anyone that wants to debate me about the merits of larger sessions versus smaller sessions, game on. Let's do it. Because here's my position. I'm going to pull a Steven Crowder here.
Let's do it.
There is no single benefit that can be achieved with one larger session that can't be achieved with two smaller sessions. Prove me wrong.
I would say the first thing that people would come at you with is the recovery time, and the fact that if it does work out, then within a year they're going to have the result, as opposed to having to go through the process for 2 or 3 years. That's the only thing I could say.
I counter that with the idea that maybe you won't have that result in 1 year. Like that's the whole thing. It's like,
well, I agree with you. I agree. I'm saying that's what the average idiot is going to come back with.
But the main point here is when you have two people involved, you got the doctor and you got the patient. The doctor is known for doing these big sessions. The patient wants the safest outcome possible and the most natural result. What's the best way to get to where the patient wants with the least amount of risk?
Yes, I agree with that.
And for the doctor, what is the fastest way? I won't even bring money into the equation. What is the fastest way to get bragging points on social media? It's pretty obvious.
It's also the fastest way to have your practice destroyed online.
Pretty much, yeah. That's a whole other ballgame.
Yeah. Because as soon as one of these guys from one of these clinics who are moving 10,000 grafts at a time comes back, say in 2 years, unless they sign their life away, and says like, "Look, the back of my insides of my head look like parchment paper now. Mm-hmm. What's going on? Where did all that hair go that I used to have in the donor? Why did that disappear so quickly?" As soon as that happens, and it's very possible that these physicians have somehow attempted to the best of their ability to tie these people's hands as far as coming back and being able to say that. Because there's only so many patients who are having these major procedures done. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But I can tell you this. I would say one of the best things that ever happened to the IHS and to me personally was 2 years ago when our friend in Atlanta lost it. And then his protege, Dr. Zarev, and I don't know if he's actually his protege, but a guy that he really brought on the scene, he was an associate member of the IHRS based on, honestly, this other doctor's recommendation. And that's part of how it works. Another IHRS member essentially has to sponsor any physician who wants to come in. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is I have to get a direct recommendation initially. I'm not out there soliciting doctors. A direct recommendation initially, and then we have to do our due diligence. I met Zarev at FU Europe in Manchester. Super nice guy, in my opinion. He seems like he really wanted to do well. He was young. He looked like this guy could like a workhorse. I saw the patient that he brought, which was amazing. But this was an old guy. This was guy. I mean, he was older than me at the time, I think. So he was able to bring this guy from significant hair loss. He was probably Norwood 6 to having a really nice-looking, natural-looking head of hair by doing these Gigasessions. But this was a guy in his 50s. Mm-hmm. Now, I did not comb through his donor. I don't want to touch anybody. But
I don't know where that has been.
I'm assuming that he's still probably doing pretty well because he had, a pretty distinct kind of well-progressed pattern already that he must have had for many years. Mm-hmm. A lot of guys do stabilize at that point. Their donor doesn't necessarily miniaturize that much with age. You see guys who are 67 years old who've maintained the same donor wreath for a couple of decades, slightly thinner, but pretty much the same. So if you transplant do a Gigasession on a guy with that extensive amount of baldness, and you're able to mechanically and artistically move those grafts the way that Zarev can, I got to tell you, he's a great mechanic. Then it makes total sense. The guy could die in 10 years anyway. What's the difference if he has some hypoxia in the back and sides of his scalp, which he may or may not have? But the best thing that ever happened was because of this guy's losing his mind, Zarev contacted us, and I've told this story before. Well, there's two reasons. He was concerned that there was another Bulgarian doctor who was an associate member of the organization on basically a probationary period. And he said, basically because of that, he no longer wants to be part of the IHRS. And I said, I think that's a good idea. He didn't like the way that I responded to him because I was starting to get a little concerned about what I was seeing online. And the way that I responded to him was basically yeah, I'm glad you spoke to John about this and you guys are boys because it kind of puts me in a much better position.
Yeah, of course. A position of clarity.
Right, but he was pissed that I responded in that way, and I'm like, what? Don't get pissed at me. I'm not pissed at you. I feel relieved now. I don't have to give you the axe. Now, I'm not saying we got any complaints because we didn't. It was still early days. We were not seeing these young patients. This guy was not booked out for the way that he is. The online presence was not there yet. And I thank goodness that we parted ways when we did before I got complaints.
Yeah, of course.
And I have to tell you, at this point now that I see this Brazilian guy and him and everyone getting so much attention in this field, I am watching young guys who can't afford to go to these doctors going elsewhere to try to get these Gigasessions and being destroyed. That's not hyperbole. I didn't make that up. There's two people in particular who contacted me through Instagram who could not afford, or one guy didn't want to wait. He ended up flying overseas.
Yeah.
He had 7,000 grafts done in one session. He's finished. He's done. I'm not saying that would have happened if he went to Zarev or this other guy, Patella. But because of what's being put out there online, this is something that is possible for every young patient. These young patients who can't afford to go there or can't wait are spending $2,000 to get these Gigasessions done, and they're being decimated. So the whole narrative, in my view, is destroying lives.
Well, no, you're 100% right. And there was even I think it was an Instagram post where I think it was Patella. Yeah, it was Patella. I didn't see the whole post, but something about it was a question mark. How is this even possible? Blah blah blah. And he had this look on his face, looking at the camera, and he's like, and then I remembered, oh yeah, I'm the one doing it, or something like that. And it's just like, really? What happened to humility? What happened to the medical ethic?
Honestly, I don't even care about that stuff.
I do. I care about that because if you have some humility, then there's a little bit of caution from the people that are following you. If you're bragging about this shit, then you're making it okay to expect something that maybe you shouldn't expect.
Well, I look at it from both angles. One is I think that the average reasonably intelligent person would look at that and be totally turned off. So I see a benefit to that.
Yeah.
But as far as the average person on Instagram or TikTok, yeah, you're right. Look, all these guys should have some humility. And when they get humility? When
that patient goes...
That patient goes online and basically makes it their life's mission to destroy their practice.
I'm actually going to challenge that, and here's why. And this goes into what I was about to say earlier, where the consultant Ryan, I think is his name. Yeah, Ryan.
And guys, call us to talk about this. 888-659-3727.
He was asking me about my history. He's like, I touched on this before with the bread and butter comment, 6,000 grafts, but he doubled down a couple times where he was talking about my past with all these endorsements of clinics, as he said, and it also made me realize you've not been paying attention. Not that he should to what I'm doing, but I haven't been in that camp in 15 years. I haven't been promoting these these huge sessions as far as like, look what our clinic can do for a long damn time. And there's a very specific reason for that. I even remember the time or the day that I started to question what was going on. And it was when a 5,500 graft patient came in 2 years after his surgery. He had already come in 1 year post looking fantastic. Everyone was excited. Oh, wow, look at this, backslapping, taking photos, all this good stuff. He was even on the forums. A year after that, he came back. The fuck happened to your hair?
Devastated
because his donor hair was being affected by DHT. Even though I'm not sure it was DHT, but even though he was on a massive stack of like crazy amounts of dutasteride,
what's your
finasteride,
stack, bro?
Like this guy was one of those people that orders shit from China because he can't get it locally.
Yeah,
like he's a really smart guy.
It's like my sex life.
But something happened, and he lost his hair. And that's when I realized this shit is bad. This shouldn't be happening.
Well, I tell all these kids,
I
I try to explain this to these kids, but they don't understand. It's like, okay, like when I made this post the other day, they're like, well, if this guy was on dutasteride, he'd be fine. And I think to myself, even if, and I've said this before, but even if he was on dutasteride, shit happens in life.
Yeah.
What happens if he became ill and he had to get off medication? What happens if, for some reason, he started to have adverse side effects? What happens if he can no longer get the same medication? But, people don't understand that life happens and not everyone can stay on these meds for a lifetime. And that's why it's so important to have conservative surgery so that at worst case scenario, the surgery could stand on its own.
And so the point of what I was talking about is that I'm not just making this shit up. Like I've lived this, and I've not been a proponent of big like my first video on YouTube, as far as when I started being independent, doing what I'm doing now. The title is "Do Not Have a Hair Transplant," and I'm talking about this exact issue 11 years ago, actually. So for this guy to try and say, oh, well, people that it's like, no, pay attention. What are you even talking about? That's not how this works.
Well, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the biggest problem with like Reddit and these other public places is when these discussions go out there, people end up picking sides, and it's very difficult for the average hair transplant consumer to get the truth. And that's why I think conversations like this, especially among professionals, if this guy is in the field, should be done behind the scenes. Don't challenge somebody who's in this space publicly until you have all the information. You shouldn't do it at all, but unless you have all the information to actually make an informed comment.
That's true.
I don't even know. It's unbelievable to me that someone in this field who's earning a living in this field, who's consulting with patients,
who's a repair
working
patient
with an IAHRS member. And I'm going to have to maybe speak to Ted. I don't know. I don't want to get him in any trouble, but, so I'm not going to do that. But if you're listening, whatever your name is, just you got to understand. Joe's one of the good guys. He's on your team.
It's it was very boggling to me to see this. Like I had the option with my first reply to him. Do I go ahead and surgically dismantle this guy, or do I just do a lighthearted, question asked, question answered?
Aren't you too old for that shit now?
Well, I am. I don't have time for this shit.
Yeah, fuck them.
So I decided to be, short and succinct and, simple and kind of lighthearted. And nope, he had to come back. It's like, all right, now you got it. This is what's going on. And then it hit me. Oh, that's right. You work for a clinic that's trying to do these big. Okay, now it all makes sense. So still answer the questions in the classic quote section, reply, move on, next section, quote, reply, that kind of thing. But anyway, it really bugged me. Like if this was just some random consultant that came into the, had a hair transplant with his doctor and started, working for the doctor, that's one thing. But a repair patient that's trying to justify he even brought up eugenics, which is the clinic he went to where he had a bad outcome. And they are known for pushing bigger sessions, not Zarev size sessions, but 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 grafts and over 2-3 day sessions. He is part of that group that had something not work out.
Yeah. It is bizarre. And I want to make this clear. I think it's important that I put this out there. I think Zarev is a really skilled surgeon. This guy has got great hands. He's so meticulous. He really understands how to move hair in ways that some other people just haven't been able to accomplish. But these guys, including Patella, not that they couldn't. But, well, I mean, he has some sort of proprietary tool that he doesn't share with anybody, but that's his thing. This is a very entrepreneurial field. It's not even medicine at this point.
No, you're right. Tools are irrelevant. Let me just say this right now. He's known for having like a 0.45 millimeter punch with vacuum suction. That does not allow someone to get more grafts than anyone else.
Well, the point that I'm trying to make, and you're right about that, is until these two guys can prove to me, that they have somehow been able to change human physiology, then, in my view, these are just masterpieces that are being that they're able to accomplish, these masterpieces with disappearing ink.
You actually just you nailed something that I was saying in one of my one of the things I was typing out is there's no tool on the planet that grows more donor hair.
Right.
Like it's as simple as that. And just for the record, like I tagged Dr. Zarev in my Instagram post announcing this show. So I'd love to hear from him on this. I've always liked the guy.
How come you should have told me that before?
I've always liked the guy, and you are absolutely correct in that this is why he's able to do what he does. He's insane.
No,
he's not right in the head.
He is talented.
With respect, because no doctor in their right mind would sit there and map out someone's donor region for 3 fucking hours in a consultation.
Yeah,
that's insane.
No, I admire his work ethic. And I said this before, listen, we have a global hair loss summit. He's part of what we did as an associate member. I do feel very fortunate that is no longer the case. I'm sorry, Zarev, if you're watching this, you know how I feel about it. I just can't have that on my head.
Yeah.
That's just the way that it is. My hope is that these young patients especially don't come back. I hope that we are wrong about this. But I can tell you that and I'm very open-minded. I'm not some like old school, politician who doesn't want to see this industry evolve. I want things to get better. But until you guys can prove to me that you've been able to accomplish this human physiology change or evolution, then I cannot see how even using the smallest of punches is going to potentially make grafts that are not relatively DHT resistant last. And I also find it difficult to believe that even if there's no visible confluence of scarring, that microvascular disruption caused in a very short period of time without the ability to remodel as, like a 2 or 4,000 graft case would, there's got to be some hypoxia down the road in some patients. Not everybody. Some guys, young guys, may heal really well, and things may, their vascularity, everything may recover. But with every punch, no matter how small it is, there's a 360-degree microvascular disruption. You can't get around that. And everything has to kind of reconnect. The blood supply has to get back to normal. And when you remove that much tissue, how is that possible? Show me. I'm willing to come on the air, to go on Instagram and just say, hey, just like there's this kid, this young guy who had a really great transplant, is now a consultant. And by the way, the guy that he consulted, Harris, who ended up having a really bad surgery, was just in Men's Health. I don't know if you saw that article.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, awesome for him. And he was nice enough to say that a friend recommended this, his initial surgeon. But this was a consultant that was recently at the ISHRS conference and has actually said, maybe he didn't say it. It could have been another guy, but he may have said that Zarev was the best hair transplant surgeon in the world. I'm not sure.
Well, I think it's important to clarify or to distinguish that he is an independent consultant. He doesn't work for any specific clinic. He does consultations for commission.
Right.
I think. I'm pretty sure.
You know what's funny? I don't even think he's a bad guy. I think he comes across as a very nice guy. He's as knowledgeable as he can be given his limited access to the field. Having access to the ISHRS is that's almost a joke. Basically, you're looking at a horse and pony show, a dog and pony show.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's slapping each other's backs. If you saw what happened in the hallways, if you knew what we knew, you would freak the F out, brother. You wouldn't even want to be involved in this field, no matter how great your outcome was. And he looks great. Good-looking young guy, great head of hair. I'm thrilled for him.
To be clear, I don't know who he is. I vaguely remember.
I forget his name.
I don't know what he looks like. So.
Look, he's always been nice to me online, and I don't want to. It's just unfortunate that he provided Harris with information that, sadly, to tell a 22-year-old kid this is the guy people have a hair transplant with. Harris was really screwed up. He will never be the same. Now, I think there's a very good chance he's going to have a decent repair. So far, it looks good.
Well, it's already a good repair because the offending grafts were removed.
Yeah.
So he already looked like, at the end of the day, he already looked 100% more natural.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So everything on top of that, and I talked to him about this, everything on top of that is bonus.
Yeah. He's a good kid, man. I really feel bad that he was put through what he was put through. And that's why it's just so dangerous to trust.
Harris, if you're listening, call us. We'd love to talk to you.
Yeah. We do have a phone call, so let's take a call.
Okay.
Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Adrian, and I'm ringing about the application as a hair transplant consultant.
Oh, yeah. Welcome.
How you doing, buddy?
Still vacant?
Hey,
Joe. Hey, Spence. How you going, guys?
Yeah, they're all
It
vacant.
depends on how many leads you can bring us.
Yeah, plenty, apparently. I'm good. This is off topic. I'm kind of reeling a bit from what happened less than a week ago here in Bondi Beach.
Oh,
where 25 Jewish Australians were murdered and another 16.
Animal.
It's disgusting.
Let me tell you, brother, when I first got together with my ex, she was, very, she really wanted to kind of be involved with the, my past and my religion and all that stuff. And she buys a menorah for our new house, and she sets it up in the window.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what in God's name are you doing? Get that out of the window.
Hit the floor.
She didn't understand the reality of it.
Get in the attic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the sad reality.
Jesus.
So-
Not allowed.
Yeah. Well, sadly, anti-Semitism has been flourishing for the last 2 years here with our government. Yeah, just yesterday, I'm an avid sporting shooter, target shooter, hunter.
Yeah.
Our government just announced yesterday that they're going to ban guns, they're going to crush them. I've got 45 years of beautiful Seikos from Finland that I've finessed and I use, and they're all going to the crusher. Now, I was always going to leave Australia because of the lack of decent hair transplant surgeons. That's a given. But I'm seriously thinking about leaving this country.
Well, I will say this. I find it
it's
fascinating that
the white elephant.
I find it fascinating that you guys in general can't have guns. I mean, I know you guys. I missed that. I know these guys. These terrorists had licenses, and it was taken away from them for a short period of time. But the reality is that people like this would have found weapons anyway, somehow. Anyone who believes that gun control makes your country safer is a complete idiot. You know what it does? It makes it safer and it makes it easier for criminals and for the bad guys.
Yeah, because that's another law that you don't have to worry about.
Right.
And the other fact is, though, the father was given a license after his son was rigorously interviewed by ASIO for his Islamic terrorist beliefs and training. They went to Mindanao in the Philippines for terrorist training. They were under the radar of ASIO. It's like our CIA.
Yeah.
They were under the ASIO's radar with the government. They should never have been given a license.
Dude, your country is so, I'm sorry to say, your country is so effed up.
Fucked.
You know, I mean, what happened during lockdown with you guys, it was insane.
2 years of lockdown, man. Couldn't fly anywhere.
I mean, listen, I live in California, so it wasn't much better. And, you couldn't go out to a restaurant unless you were carrying like your papers. It was insane.
Yeah. But I couldn't get on a plane to Thailand. I mean, by the time I did, it was like watching a yogurt truck smashing into a brick wall. It was insane. But
Jesus.
2 years?
I hope they have massage parlors where you live. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll be moving to them if they don't. Don't worry. But
what's interesting, and sorry, Adrian, just let me interrupt just for 1 second. What's interesting is when you look at gun laws, I know that Switzerland has very liberal gun ownership laws, where basically almost everyone in Switzerland has a gun. And then you look at Australia, where very few people have a gun since 1996, I believe it was. I got some stats to share with you. So per firearm homicide rate, out of 100 for every 100,000 people as of 2021, dead even 0.13 firearm homicides per 100,000 versus Switzerland versus Australia. The total homicide rate is almost the same. Both less than 1 per 100,000. The number of guns in Switzerland, there's 2 million privately owned guns in total. One estimate has 46 guns per 100 people. In Australia, it's 13 to 14 guns per 100 people.
So, I mean, what happens if these guys decide to take their truck and mow everybody down? Would they outlaw trucks?
Well, they did that in Paris. They killed 50 odd people.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do? Ban trucks?
Exactly.
We're going to ban trucks now?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when you had the LA riots, I probably.
I mean, Carl Reiner's kid just killed both Carl and his wife with a knife.
Yeah.
So we can't have knives.
Yeah,
No, actually, in the UK, you can't. You can't carry a knife outside. Yeah, even like kitchen knives. You can't have them. You can't be transporting.
But all of the criminals are allowed to carry machetes.
Yeah, pretty much.
We live in. I am so glad, honestly, that I am old. I would not want to be a young person in this world right now and have to deal with what's going to happen in the future.
You're killing me, but I'm so glad I don't have kids. I caught up with a friend of mine for his 60th birthday, and I looked at his kids. They're very young. They're early 20s, and I didn't know what to say. You know, one of them's asking me. He's a shooter too, and he was asking me about. They won't take my gun, will they? And his gun is on the very top list.
Yeah.
Statistically, you are more likely to die from a hair transplant in Australia than a firearm. Trust me.
Yeah.
It's just ludicrous. It really is. But anyway, that aside, finasteride going okay. Now there is a slight difference I've noticed, but my libido is there.
It's there.
So it's there. It's functional, very functional.
That's great.
So I'm going to give it time, and I think been 2.5 months now. 2 months is usually the mark where I look at a girl and I think of a red wine instead. So that's a good sign. That's a good sign. So that for all the naysayers against finasteride, I want them to know that I have tried the drug. In fact, when I was first told I could have a hair transplant, I couldn't wait and get to the pharmacist, to my GP quick enough to get a script. Yeah. I wasn't even concerned about any side effects. I just thought, I'm going to get my hair back. That's all I thought about. And then I noticed after 2 months, hang on, I'd noticed for a couple of weeks I had no interest. I titrated, went off it, went back on it on another low dose, same thing after 2 months. Tried it topically, same thing. So all I'm saying is never give up hope.
Yeah, and it could have been the generic that you were on. It could have just been it could have just been what was happening in your body at the time. I mean, there's so many different variables.
Mm-hmm.
Could be my age, Spence. Who knows?
Well, now you're older.
That's right, and it should be getting worse, and it's definitely not.
I love these kids contact me and they're like, when I post something like I've been on finasteride for over 30 years, they're like, how many kids do you have? Well, you're old now, so sex doesn't matter. I mean, crazy shit like that.
Okay.
It's the same idea. Like, look, I just want my transplant to last 10 years because once I'm 30, I won't care about my hair.
Yeah.
It's the same principle. That's right. To kids like that, you should say, what's your mum doing right now? I mean, that's crazy. It's insane.
Well, listen.
That's the problem. We are no longer relevant. We are not deemed relevant to these young kids anymore. Anything I say, the questions I answer that people send me, first they want my phone number and they want to do a 3-hour consultation. Basically, that's what they want.
Yeah.
And
welcome to my world.
Just sort of give them the truth. It's like, oh, well, they go ahead and do it anyway.
Well, I have just an interesting anecdote that happened. I was scrolling on TikTok like an idiot the other night, and I got to get off that thing. And I came across this kid's live. He's a young kid, 23 years old. I don't know if he was Hispanic or part African American. I don't know what was going on. But he was all tatted up, 23 years old, had just had a hair transplant, talking to another brother who had a hair transplant, who was wearing like a do-rag. It was kind of interesting to watch because these are young kids who are essentially promoting the fact that they've had hair transplants and telling other people what to do, where to go, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. I just decided, I got to chime in here. And initially, this guy's like, oh, this guy Spencer is just a troll. He's a he's a hater, all this stuff. And then I explained who I was, and there was somebody in the chat who said, no, he's the real deal. And then this guy, and I said, listen, guys, I just want to help you guys. That's what I'm here. I'm a 60-year-old man. I said, I introduced the surgery that you just had to the U.S. and to Europe. You wouldn't have had this FUE surgery if it wasn't for what we did back in 1999. And I explained it to him, and I guess he looked me up, and he's like, oh, my God, he's apologetic and very nice and appreciative and followed me. But he's 23. He went overseas, as you can imagine. And then he tells me, well, he just started taking, I think, dutasteride, a combination of dutasteride, minoxidil, I could have this wrong, and biotin. So he's good. I'm like, oh, my God, dude. You have no idea if you're good. You should have been on that medication for a year at least before your transplant. You may have grown back most of your hair because you're so young.
Yeah. I know. And this is the problem too. People like, say, Joe or myself or David Anderson, who've had horrible experiences when we were young and were lucky enough to turn that around in later years. They look at us today like an iceberg. They only look at the 5% that's visible.
Yeah.
But 95% of pain and suffering and experience, they're not even interested in. They don't want to see that.
Well, they don't.
No.
It's difficult when you're young and you're desperate to fully, there is that.
For sure.
There's just a confirmation bias, and they want to focus on the people who are telling them that this is a good thing. And I get it. I just wish, look, there's a certain percentage of guys who have the wherewithal, who are smart enough to listen to what we have to say. Most won't. We have to accept that. That's just the way that it is.
Yes. Yeah, that's a reality, sadly.
No matter how odd the disagreement might be, such as it's a good idea to have 11,000 grafts in one shot. It's just...
Yeah. What do you know? And I try not to come across. I try not to come across as a know-it-all. I'm like, look, this is what it is. I've got no skin in the game. Do whatever the F you want. Just do whatever you want. But here's the truth. Take it for what it's worth. And there are people who will contact me and they thank me. We've been doing this for so long. But on the flip side, do you think I'd be able to do this for so long and have a thriving business and a thriving life if most people weren't idiots and the industry wasn't so shitty? No. So I have to look at both ends of it. I do my best to help these people. But if everyone was really smart, I would end up doing something else, but I wouldn't be here for 30 years. I'm here for 30 years because most people are idiots. The end. And the industry, the physicians are in the industry. As much as they say, oh, you know what? Look at this guy's doing bad work, and I would never do that. I'm doing this. Most of them are the same. Very few are really willing to come out, tell the truth. Everyone wants to kind of stay under the radar, do their own thing. I've had people say they're afraid of talking about what's happening overseas because they don't want to be targeted. Okay. And then they'll support this Fight the Fight campaign, which is an abject failure.
Yeah.
You don't have to even talk about what's happening overseas. If you were able to promote if you guys just promoted the reality of hair transplant surgery and what the entire scope possible pitfalls are, then no one even be looking to go overseas and get a cheap hair transplant or price has nothing to do with it, but to get a Gigasession overseas as a young person. If the information was out there, if everyone came together in this field and said and did the right thing, it would change everything. It's like herding cats. It's never going to happen. I've accepted it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like the premise Joe's mentioned before that, you can always have a hair transplant tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You don't need to have your entire donor area taken away from you at 23. It sounds common sense to us now, but yeah, sadly, with the bombardment of social media and whatnot, if you're young, and if you were like how I felt at 18, I panicked. I think if I was 18 today, I would definitely be one of those cases where I'd be living my life with more regrets. But
Adrian,
and in terms of
do you remember when you were about to go to you're about to hop on the plane to go to India for your first repair, and we had our conversation?
Yep.
Do you remember what I was telling you about graph numbers?
If I remember, I think it was about.
Do you remember the caution? Do you remember the caution?
This isn't a test, Adrian. Just say no.
Yeah. If you don't know, that's fine. But do you remember what I was cautioning you about with your first
Can you just
surgery?
give him a multiple choice at least?
Yeah, it's like a game show, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Adrian, they're going to need an answer now. No, I can't remember, Joe.
Okay, well, let me refresh your memory. Do you remember me telling you that if you're recommended some sort of super Gigasession, to hold back and try to approach it with multiple smaller sessions, because Pradeep will try. You know, God love Pradeep, but he's proud of his big sessions that he would try to pull out all stops to do multiple thousands of surgeries. Do you remember that?
I do. Yeah, I know. It's the same with patella.
And well, no, I mean, like with your case, it was different only because I'm not comparing what you went through to something like what I don't know about patella because I don't know much about him, but like with Azarev, where your scalp donor, it wasn't decimated, but it wasn't virgin scalp. Like you had a lot of scar tissue from all the plug surgeries you had, and 130% of all grafts, 130% of your donor was of your scalp donor was actually taken from your body, your beard, your chest, even a little bit of pubic. Yes. So you had like 3,000 something from your scalp, and then 4,000, almost 5,000 from your beard and neck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you had plenty more after that. So
what are you saying? You got pubes on your head, brother?
I've got a couple in my mouth as we speak. But no, we use some for the.
I hope they're not Pradeep's.
The back. And, no, man. No, I'll accept the book, but that's about as much as I'll say.
The book. I'll accept the book. That fucking book.
That's book, man.
Yeah.
That's the best line all year. Go ahead.
But I look. I was going there with the knowledge of there will be augmentation of beard grafts and in terms of my scalp, I didn't believe. And I don't know if I told you this, Joe, but I backed out and cancelled 2 weeks before the first procedure.
Yeah, I remember that.
Couldn't get out. Yeah, I just, it's suddenly all the weight of everything from my whole life thinking, am I jumping out of the pan back into the fire?
Well, I remember that.
I have nowhere to go.
That feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard you talk about that in detail, and that's exactly how I felt. And I spoke, and I chatted with him, and I did go through with it, but the caveat was this. I said, if I get there and on the day I don't feel happy with what you think you can do, because I thought he would say, oh, gee, we can only do probably, the worst case, always underestimate the results. So I said to him, I'm happy to pay your fees, whatever, but I'm going to cancel it. And he said, that's cool. So I was willing to go there, and if I wasn't happy to what I was expecting or hoping for, I was just going to walk.
Yeah.
And he said, that's fine. Well, that's why I thought, okay, I'll go ahead.
Yeah. But you went in with that mindset, and you went in educated better than you had ever been.
That's right. I mean, when I found your website, Joe, I went right through it. And even when I had SMP, I vetted SMP people as I would a hair transplant surgeon. That whole list,
Right.
And I used that template. And I then went back to some surgeons here, and I used that template. And they short of kicking me out of the office because they thought I was boring them, or I was being,
Clinics don't like my questionnaire. No one is. I had one doctor call me up, and he's like, "What the hell are you doing? These questions are killing me."
Yeah, well, it was killing people here too, and I had no intention of going to anyone here, obviously, but I wanted to road test the current climate again of surgeons here. And I was right. But I'm very lucky. This is what people need to know. It could have gone pear-shaped. The hair grafts could have been at all terrible angles. It may not have blended. The donor, which I could not believe how many grafts we got from in terms of my scalp, I thought we'd be lucky to get 2,000 grafts out of it. We got over 7,000.
That's amazing.
Over the 3 procedures.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so homogenous that it looks okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm incredibly grateful. However, the problem, people become a victim of their own success. And as much as I do genuinely love Pradeep, after that, the whole thing went downhill with them. You know, I think Carl, when I went there, Carl went there, John, Armin, after that, it went downhill.
I find that
because they then
very refreshing for you to be able to say that and willing to say that publicly.
What was the last thing you were saying?
I was just saying that as much as I love Pradeep, and I do keep in touch with him as a friend, not as a patient, not as a consultant. He asked me to be a consultant. I said, no, I can't. He asked me what when they first started the multi-tier marketing thing, I sat down with Pradeep and with Dr. Areca, and they said, what do you think of this? And I said, no, this ain't going to work. Patients go by the doctor and the skills. They don't go by, as if it's a fast food chain outlet, which didn't go down well. But I said, you have to look at the model you're doing. It's exactly the same.
I have to say,
for something, but
I'm proud of you, brother. I'm proud of you, brother. I mean, I voiced my discomfort for a long time, and I think that Pradeep got upset about that a couple of times, actually.
He would have. He can't accept criticism.
Well, he felt it was disrespectful. I'm like, not that I would he's a human being, but just because he's a physician or whatever, you're a human being, brother. It's about mutual respect. Mm-hmm. I'm also your elder. I've been doing this for a lot longer, and I've seen probably a lot more really, just the walking wounded that I've seen from this field is extraordinary, really.
Yeah.
It's not just the walking wounded. You and I, Spencer, have been doing this long enough where we've seen flavor of the week clinics come and go all the time.
All the time.
And
speaking
why?
Of come and go. Where's Dr. Go? Go ahead.
It's because they all make the same fatal mistake. They think that they can do no wrong.
Yes. They believe their own shit, sadly.
And they can't handle it.
Here's the thing that I think is going to be important for both Patella and for Zarov. They're killing it now. Save your money, people. Invest your money.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. They are making money hand over fist right now, but that just changes. And the brighter the star in this field, usually, especially in the online world, the faster they burn out.
100%.
And it becomes bad. And these guys I've seen guys, they've been so depressed because they were leading the pack for so long. They were so used to all of the online sycophants that these two guys have now. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, they drop off a cliff. And it's just the way that it is.
They're just holding their dick.
You know who that never happened to? Guys like Jerry Cooley.
I was just going to say Jerry Cooley.
Guys like Scott Bowden. Guys like Sean Benham. Guys like Alan Bauman. Guys like, and he's taken some stuff, some crap from his colleagues for being out there in the media so much. But, these guys have lasted the test of time because they weren't that shooting star. They weren't just trying to get all the online attention. They weren't working the forums like the phones.
Yep.
Anyone who's working the forums, if you see doctors who are dominating the forums, in my view, you stay clear.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what's sad about that is if you have, even if you have a clinic where their star was burning bright, and then for whatever reason they came crashing down due to some sort of mistake that they made because of a change that they made at their through the operations or whatever. They correct it.
Yes.
And everything's fine. Years later, their reputation is still fucked.
Yes.
And it blows my mind.
Yeah,
That's true.
To this day, I see some clinics that are doing like really good work getting lambasted as if they were the second coming of Satan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the online world and the whole nature of the online world is it's just a very ineffective way to get a lot of information. As effective as it is, as easy as it is to get information, when it comes to doing research like this, it's really confusing. There's so much noise.
And AI is not an excuse to say, oh, well, I can ask AI. No, AI feeds off of what's really scary is when you ask questions of like, say, ChatGPT or Google Gemini, guess where they get their information?
They're starting to get it from Reddit.
Reddit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which blows my mind.
Yeah. Well, part of it is, look, if it's about a person or whatever it is, the AI will generate the most relevant stuff, say, from Wikipedia or from the media. Or that's not great either. Or the media, or whatever it is. But then it'll trickle down to things on Reddit.
God.
But it really depends. It depends.
Reddit.
You know, you don't really.
Yeah.
I think if you ask AI about physicians, I haven't done that in a while, but I haven't seen any of the Reddit stuff come out about certain physicians on AI.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Gee, AI drawing from Reddit. I mean, that's like HAL 2000 out of 2001: A Space Odyssey. That's scary, man.
Well, I would say in this field and in cosmetic surgery in general, and I've kind of gone to other places on Reddit to look and see what's going on with cosmetic surgery. Jesus, these poor women who are getting, like, in my view, these Morpheus 8 or other, these technologies that are supposed to be non-surgical. So many people are really being, in my view, misled by the clinics. Women are quickly aging themselves by doing all of these so-called non-invasive procedures. The only way to really get anything done as far as cosmetic surgery or plastic surgery, in my view, is cold, hard steel at the right time. That's it. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, implants, whatever, but it's still cold, hard steel. You've got to be cut open to make it work.
Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah.
Cold, hard steel.
Yeah.
What is the art of life? Cold, hard steel.
And when someone is promoting, and same in hair transplant surgery, if something is the latest and greatest, you don't want that. Same with medications.
No.
Unless you're dying and there's a medication that could potentially save your life, you don't want to take that medication. You want to make sure that there's enough enough safety data. There's enough VAERS reports. There's enough, information.
The government fast-tracked it. What could go wrong?
Yeah. So everyone is like so excited about new drugs coming out for hair loss. You don't want to jump on that right away. You want to try what's tried and true first. See if that works out for you. I have to tell you, man, I hate to say it, I am no genius. I've lived by my wits my entire life, so I've been very lucky. I somehow have the wherewithal to figure shit out for the most part. I'm still no genius. People are idiots. Even the smart, even people who are doing, have great careers and who have somehow done well in life, when it comes to certain common sense, they're such idiots, man. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
Common sense is not common.
These fields would not exist to the level that they do if people weren't idiots.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you think fillers and Botox and all that stuff would be as rampant as it is if people weren't idiots? Of course not. And desperate.
Not. The problem is this whole industry is based on emotion.
Yeah.
And emotion is not a constant. Emotion is not a constant. It's not logical. So everything's.
I won't care about my hair when I'm 30. I want my hair now while I'm in my 20s when it matters.
Yeah, because I won't care at 30. That's right.
Yeah.
And to the surgeon's emotion, because there's money involved, whatever, to the bad ones. Look, guys, I was lucky. If I did, I've said it before a million times, if I didn't have the scars, and Joe, you know how much that was my biggest concern, I just have a buzzed head now. You think about the advantages. Like, people really should have a look at Harry's channel, Ball Cafe. I mean, one, you don't have to worry about taking medications for the rest of your life. Two, small, minimal possible side effects. Don't have to worry about that either. Three, continual surgery to keep up with your balding if you're starting young. There's so many pluses for it. And
we made Harry a trusted content creator of the American Hair Loss Association. That's great. He's listed there. People can find him. I have to talk to him about promoting that fact a little bit more, because there's a reason why he's a trusted content creator. And I know it sounds contradictory since it's the American Hair Loss Association, and we're supposed to be helping people in people's minds to treat and prevent and learn more about what's going on with their issues, their condition. But the reality is that is the cure for male pattern baldness. That is the only cure currently at shaving your head. And that's why I think his message is so important. But I am going to tell him, listen, dude, you got to start promoting it a little bit more, because we want people to understand that while your message is powerful, there's still going to be a whole bunch of people that find you that need to get even more information about their reality. So, he's great, though. I mean, he's also very lucky because he's super handsome and he has the right head shape and all that stuff. So it works. There's a lot of guys. I saw a guy, I'm not going to say who he is, but he's a well-known AI person, and he was on a show recently, a podcast. And he looks like he has a nice-looking face, but it's kind of small. It looks like small compared to a shaved head. So it looks odd. He almost looks alien-like. But if he had hair, this guy would be awesome-looking. So it really depends on your...
Well,
Go ahead.
Well, he's a good-looking alien. I mean, you've got to see the positives.
That's true. That's true.
Always look at the positive.
All right, brother. Listen, I'm glad you're doing well. I'm sorry that you live where you live, but listen, that's your home country. What are you going to do?
Move ASAP. Trust me. I retire at the end of next year. So if you hear a few gunshots out in the woods, Joe, near your place, it's just me deer hunting. Okay.
Brother, listen.
I'll go with you.
Take care. Merry Christmas.
All right, guys. Take care. Thanks for everything you do, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Merry Christmas. Bye.
Thanks. 888-659-3727. I say Merry Christmas. So what?
Face it, you're doing it to hide.
I'm doing it to hide? Who's saying that?
Well, don't put the menorah in the window, and don't say Happy Hanukkah.
That's true.
Say Merry Christmas. They might believe me.
Well, I'm what you call passable in my culture.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes, you are.
888-659-3727.
That's great.
I love when people talk about my people to me, like in private, like we're out and they're drinking.
And they lower their voice.
And I just sit there. I'm like, okay, I'm filing that shit away. I'll take your money, but I'm filing it away. Let's see.
Oh, that's great.
Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
My name's John. I'm from the Bay Area in California.
Hey, John.
John.
Hey, how's it going? I had a question regarding specifically minoxidil and how it functions specifically with after a period of inconsistency and losing results and its ability to work again. So I guess I've been on treatment for about a year, 12 months this month.
Did you ask this question on Reddit?
Yes.
I read Reddit too much.
I never read Reddit unless you send me something that's really weird.
Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, I did. And I just haven't found any solid answers, really. There's nothing online, like YouTube videos. And I was kind of just interested about it. with the process of like antigen truncation and stuff. So like I ended up hyper responding to minoxidil and dutasteride, and like I started like a Norwood 3 with like diffuse thinning, and I had like retrograde alopecia, and it like I like grew all my hair, like all my density back and down to like a Norwood 2. And over the summer and early fall, I moved to California. I was in New York for a bit, and my prescription ran out of oral minoxidil, and I was using topical and oral together. But my prescription ran out a few times. You know, I went like, you know, between like 3 and 7 days without oral minoxidil while still using topical a few times, and it caused me to lose all my results a few months later. And I was wondering, like, does minoxidil have the same like effect if you responded before? And I was on dutasteride the whole time, and I wanted to know, like, just kind of how the mechanism of minoxidil works, if like it can damage a hair follicle or prevent it from returning. I was just interested, you know, with my case particularly, and I haven't, I just haven't seen any.
Well, you mentioned androgen truncation, right? That's the question that you think?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, that's all DHT driven. That's all androgen driven. So the issue is when you're taking a medication that is lowering your DHT, and then you're also on a vasodilator that is increasing or keeping your hair in an anagen phase longer. Even if you're still on a drug like finasteride or dutasteride, it's just a weird phenomenon with minoxidil. As soon as you stop using that medication, it really will generally put you into a telogen effluvium that could sadly screw up your entire your hair cycling. And that could that could stay that way for years. It could take 2 years, 3 years to reverse, unless you get back on medication.
Yeah. And I've been like perfectly consistent for the last few months. I never went like a long time with it. It was just like a few days waiting for my prescription refill.
In the last few months.
So like,
You said you didn't go a long time without it. How long did you go? Initially, how long did you go without it to lose all of your results?
Okay, so in June, so I was using topical and oral together. So I was using it like when I ran out of oral minoxidil a few times. So in June, I went 6 days without oral while still using topical and using my oral dutasteride. And late July, I went like 3 days, 4 days. And then September, about like 7 a week, 7, 8 days. And yeah, that was it.
Just without oral minoxidil, you're still taking topical and your dutasteride this whole time?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I've sometimes missed topical, but I have my oral too. So like, I've never gone a single day without at least one form of minoxidil, but I rarely missed anything. But yeah, I guess I assume because I responded so strongly that my follicles were even more dependent than like your average person. And I thought the topical and dutasteride would hold me over for a few days until I got my prescription refilled and transferred to new pharmacies. But I guess it didn't. And I was wondering, like, is it even like possible for my follicles to respond in the same manner as they did the first time?
Well, it is, but
I would say 100%. But go ahead, Joe.
You've been back on the medication, so what's your experience so far? Do you see anything coming back?
Not really. I mean, I've been shedding a ton. I haven't initially within 2 months, my hairline like regrew a ton, like tons of dark baby hairs coming out, and it's been like the last time I missed was I might have missed like 1 or 2 days of oral in October, but that was it. And I haven't really seen. I mean, there's a ton of all the hairs are still there, but all my hair on my scalp miniaturized like a lot. Like it all would be thin towards the root, but then thick towards the end, where it was growing months ago. But the root, you could just see it rapidly miniaturize. And I mean, I'm still above baseline, and but I've been consistent for about perfectly consistent for 2 months, I'd say, since like last time I missed a day or two. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I was just confused. I didn't think it would have this effect. And when I was researching, I just saw there was like nothing out there really, because I don't know about the ability of minoxidil to work the same again as it can. Like, does it ever like, can hair follicles, like when so anagen truncation, that happens if you stop minoxidil, right? Because they're immediately
No,
leaving.
no, that's completely DHT resistant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
But,
I was thinking,
but
so
even if you stop taking, see, oral minoxidil, it's relatively short acting. It has a very quick impact on your hair growth cycle and your hair follicles. If you remove that quickly, especially if a large percentage of your hair was essentially being like resuscitated or held in an anagen phase because of the minoxidil, which is very possible, then you just disrupted that cycle, and it happens quickly with minoxidil. People don't realize that.
yeah, I was shocked because I mean I knew like the half-life was short and like, you know, I should be fine with a few days until I can get back home and get my prescription refilled or whatever, and then it's like a few days and it's like,
No, I mean, it's called, I mean, it depends on who you speak to. You're not going to find it on Reddit most likely, but if you speak to, say, like a doctor like Donovan or somebody who's really knows what's going on in the hair world, they call it a withdrawal shed, or it's obviously a telogen effluvium, but the withdrawal from minoxidil happens in most people rapidly. And it could be, you know, everyone thinks they're protected by the, you know, if they're using a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor. I'll give you an example. I was doing topical 5% for a while. I was on 10% minoxidil solutions and 5%. But around the time I started my radio show, for the first 2 years, I was still using 5% topical. And I even wrote about it in the second The Bald Truth that I kind of been consistent with it. And then I decided I was going to get off of it. I wasn't sure if it was helping me or not. My scalp felt irritated no matter what solution I was using. So I did this publicly on the radio. I said, I'm going to wean off it. I'm going to take at least a year to wean off. No one really understood why I took that, including doctors, why I decided to take that long to wean off. Because I know how, at least from what I understood about minoxidil, how it works by keeping your hair in an anagen phase for a longer period of time. So I wanted my body to be able to maintain the hair that I have just through lowering DHT. But I knew if I just removed minoxidil, even if it was a week or 2 weeks or 2 months, that I can go through a major shed. And so I took a very long period of time. Now, I know people who've been on oral minoxidil for a short period of time felt that they were getting good results pretty quickly. And then they sensed they were having some side effects like 6 months in, and then go online, read about it, drop it, and it could take 5 days for some of these people. And they just notice they start to shed. So
yeah,
I think the mechanism is very real, and it's important that people know when they start these medications, that's it. You are stuck. That's just the way that it works. That's why I've been holding off on oral minoxidil for so long. Sorry, Joe. Don't mean to scare you. That's why I've been holding off on it for so long. Because I didn't want a certain percentage of my hair to become dependent on the oral minoxidil. And then if I decided to stop it, I would lose it rapidly. Or
That's
if I
why
had
I
some sort of
took
side
some.
effect.
and so is it supposed to have the same effect? Like, it's when you restart, or like, you know, after a short break, like, will your follicles, like, can coming off it, like, damage your ability to go back to, like...
No, especially if it's a short period of time. And you know, this is what may happen also. It's very possible that the hair that you lost in that short period of time would start to regenerate to some degree. The miniaturization, if obviously there was miniaturization, but your hair would go through a new cycle, and the DHT lowering properties of the drugs you're taking could help you establish more hair growth. But you may not notice that for a year or longer. So it's possible just by maintaining dutasteride treatment right now that you're going to end up with more hair in a year. But you shocked your hair out.
Okay.
But with that said, getting back on minoxidil, since you did well on it, is really the way to go in my view. I'm not a doctor, but your question is, am I damaged for life because I took this break? I would say that you're probably going to get the exact same response that you did initially, but you just fucked yourself for the next year.
Yeah. Is it
I would tend to agree with that. Like it doesn't. I look at this stuff as just being unpredictable with how it's going to react. Like I don't think it's safe to say that every time someone does something with a medication that they stop and restart, that the exact same thing is going to happen a second, third, or fourth time. There's no reason to think that you won't have, I won't say an exact result, but a similarly good outcome. But it might take a while this time because, the growth cycle has been affected by going on to the medication and now basically going cold turkey, for lack of a better, and causing this issue. The growth cycle could have been affected to the point where you'll have the same result. It'll just take more time to get there because it's still going through that process of coming off the medication. It's not just going to, turn around and start sprouting immediately, or relatively so, similar to the first time, because you said the first time it came in really fast.
Yeah, like it was insane. Like, man, it was like a miracle. Like, but yeah, and then I guess so.
But here's the thing: your DHT, for the most part, if you responded well to the dutasteride, is still being controlled. So the hairs essentially went through a quick telogen phase, and you shed these hairs. Doesn't mean the hair follicles aren't still manufacturing that hair under your skin. That's the good news.
Yeah.
And it's not as though they're going to miniaturize and become weaker once they start to be resuscitated again. So I don't want to give you false hope, but I based on everything that I know for the last 30 years, you just fucked up and you're going to recover.
Yeah.
Especially if you're taking the exact same medication, the exact same generic, all that stuff. There's a really good chance that you're going to recover. Thing is, you may not get, like Joe said, the very quick response that you did because so much of your hair went into a telogen so rapidly that it's kind of synchronized now. So it may take a little longer for it to, get back to where you want it. But I think in time, in a very short period of time, you're going to start seeing more vellus hair if you look closely. I think you're going to be fine. It's just unfortunate that you had to go through this. Yeah.
Okay. So like even like in the hairline where like, they go back to like these baby little vellus hairs, like do they still have the same ability to go to a fully thick terminal hair even after you stop? Like
100%.
Or take a short. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they've been in that state for 5 years.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know what kind of answers you get on Reddit, but honestly, man, I don't know. I'm not going to say no one knows what they're talking about, but in general, they just don't have enough experience to give advice.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, and there's like, I don't know, no one really knows much anyways. Like everyone's just kind of like, it's just like all anecdotal and it's just, I don't know. It's like hard to find real.
And they base a lot of the information that they put out there on, in quotes, studies. And these kids don't even understand how these studies are published. I'm not a doctor. I can get published. All I have to do is find the right physician who's willing to write the paper for me. I can have an in-clinic trial of whatever the hell I want. We could assess that trial in any manner that we want. And we just have to pick the right journal who needs content to get published. These kids have no idea what the status of these journals are because they're looking it up on these aggregators, and they're just finding published studies, but they're not looking deeply into where they were published, how they were published, what
they're not using their critical reasoning to determine if it's an actual study or a survey.
Yeah. Also, what kind of peer review is actually conducted. Look, we were going to launch a journal, and we had everything together. We had all the experts, the best doctors in this field. Everyone wanted in on it. And then as I'm watching the politics go down, now I was going to essentially carry the load. We were going to publish it. Essentially, it was going to be a free journal for everybody. I was going to pay for it. And I saw the politics behind the scene and the fact that these doctors were like, okay, we're going to pick our peer reviewers. I'm like, what do you mean? How do you pick your peer? So basically, these guys, they just pick their buddies. And they're like, look, would you review this for me? And their buddies don't want to say this isn't something that's plausible because everyone knows it's publish or perish in this field, in all fields of medicine. So it really depends on your peer reviews. Are they known reviewers? Are they anonymous reviewers? Is the journal itself just sending it out to reviewers, or are the doctors in charge of the journal? There's just a lot of variables that no one fully understands.
Yes. I mean, to build off that, one time, like when I posted my initial, regrowth results on Reddit, on the Trustless forum, like I had people like coming at me like, oh, but you're going to get like post-finasteride syndrome. And they would link a study in their comment, and I like would click on it, and it would be the study would only be done on like 20 people, and it would all be them anecdotally saying, oh, I have post-finasteride syndrome.
The initial Irwig study, and that's where it all started. And these were just surveys.
Yeah, the author of that
random people.
I can't call it a study, but the author of that survey interviewed people that had already been complaining about side effects.
I had him on my show years ago when it first came out, and he was basically like, we basically just rang him up. Hey, how you doing? So you're impotent, right? Okay, so tell me how long you've been impotent. Oh, you're feeling depressed, so it must be the drug. Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, people cite those like studies like that like every day in like all the forums, and it's just like, I don't know. It really, I feel like it really convolutes the topic and like leads people astray. Because I've had like friends who were like losing their hair and like saw these studies and got scared away from finasteride for like a few months or like half a year, and they like lose more ground, and then they like end up taking it. And like, wow.
Oh yeah, I know people who they've wasted years, and then they all end up taking it, giving it a shot, and they're just terrified to do it. Now listen, I'm not saying that side effects don't exist, and I'm not saying that there's not some subset of people who either have or believe that they have permanent adverse side effects or depression from the drug or whatever it is. I mean, this is a medication, but the reality is, from 1992 until 2005, 1992 is when the drug was approved for benign prostate hyperplasia at a 5 milligram dose. These anecdotes did not exist. They weren't out there in the public sphere. Now, people are saying, well, the internet wasn't as big back then. It was plenty big. I had a forum that had like 100 and some odd thousand users on it. Almost everyone was taking finasteride. Yeah. I mean, that's just the way that it was. And people were concerned about side effects, but no one.
And there was a dedicated section about hair loss medications, and this wasn't a thing.
Right. And there was an old forum, a very popular forum called Hair Loss Help. And I mean, everyone who was losing their hair, who were in the forums and on the forums, they were using these medications. Some had adverse side effects. Some had gynecomastia, but everyone who got off of it, they were fine. And they were like, shit, I just can't take the drug. So I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but we know the exact time frame when it started to kind of make its online debut. And initially, this information was put out there by the snake oil salesmen anonymously, and we caught a few who were selling their own products, claiming this is a natural product without side effects, and then really putting the side effect narrative out there for public consumption. These people don't want to talk about that. And now it's become this mass hysteria event, and I believe these people are suffering. I truly know they're suffering. But there is absolutely a strong psychological aspect to a lot of things in medicine, but impotence in particular. If you think you're feeling numb down there, you're numb. That's just the way that it is.
Yeah.
So
you don't have to wonder Like, do I feel, I'm not sure if I really, I don't know.
Now,
Like,
for
it's
those who
not-
never even thought about the adverse side effects, who did not read these adverse side effects and then suffered from them, and I've known people who have, or not known them personally, but they've written me, that's a different story. They did suffer from real adverse side effects. But anyway, it's relatively rare. Even if it was 5%, which is high, that means 95% of users do well on the medication. That's a great percentage.
Yeah, you also like never hear like, or not never, but like far less hear like, you know, like older people taking like the 5 milligram Proscar tablet. Like you don't hear people talking about like on forums complaining about like their 5 milligram Proscar side effect, which is obviously is finasteride, and like you do with people on 1 milligram.
Dude, I was on 5 milligrams a day.
That's a good point.
For years. I actually I went up to 7.5 milligrams at one point because we didn't know about this dread shed that happened, 8 months later or whatever. I was just taking the medication. No one else was taking it. So once I started to lose ground, I was like, it's not working anymore. And I upped my dosage. I took 1.5 tablets. I was fine. I was on 5 milligrams per year. I only titrated down because I wanted to see how well I would do with less in my body. And then I started to do intermittent therapy, and it worked. But, I wanted to give myself some runway in case I needed more eventually as I got older, which I did. I actually had to double my dosage. So now I take about one 5 milligram dose about twice a week. It doesn't exist in that world. Urologists aren't talking about it. Urologists started talking about it when it came to hair loss, not to benign prostate hyperplasia, because in their practices, they're like, well, these are older guys anyway. Some of them are already suffering from ED. So, we give it to them because their prostates are keeping them up at night, and it's a bad situation. So it's interesting. You're absolutely right. And I know all the post-finasteride syndrome guys are going to hate on this. But this is just the truth. My personal experience on the drug for more than 30 years has been wonderful. I want to talk about it. Joe's done well on it as well.
Mm-hmm. And recently added oral minoxidil to the mix too.
And how old are you, caller?
I'm 23.
You're 23 years old. And you're doing great on dutasteride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problems, whatever. Worked great. Definitely thickened my hair, aside from just minoxidil.
Well, I think you're going to be fine. I don't have a crystal ball, but based on other anecdotes, just like yours, other people's experiences, it sounds exactly like theirs. And everyone who's contacted us over the years has recovered. But it's interesting. The oral minoxidil phenomenon is interesting. I've known people, they stop it for whatever reason. It happens really quickly, even more rapidly than topical for some reason. I don't know if you've heard about that.
Because when I my prescription would get delayed, when I was moving to California, I would read online people saying you can get a week or two, or two before you lose ground, and I was like, I'll be okay. I'm still using my topical, and that was not.
No, if you took 2 weeks or 3 weeks off of dutasteride, you'd be fine.
Yeah,
but not minoxidil, brother.
Or finasteride, you'd be fine, but not
finasteride. Well, dutasteride, you definitely. I mean, the half-life of dutasteride is weeks, but finasteride, even though the half-life is short. I've missed it for 2 weeks. Excuse me, and I know a lot of people. It takes a while for your DHT to get back to baseline, and even if it does, Jesus, I'm choking.
You want to get some water?
I'm going to get some. Even if it does, your hair follicles don't start to miniaturize, possibly for weeks, once you get to baseline. So, and once you hit yourself with a dose, your DHT is lowered very rapidly. But yeah, minoxidil, it's a wild drug, man. But it works. It does wonders. You stick to it. People could really. I mean, Imagine if you're able to keep your hair cycle in an anagen phase for another, say, 2 or 3 anagen phases. That could be another 15 years.
Yeah.
You know? So I hope we were able to answer your question and give you a little bit more confidence in moving forward and maybe allay some of your fears.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks for what you do. Love your show.
Well, say great things about us on Reddit, all right?
I was just going to say that.
But yeah, all right. Well, you guys have a good one.
All right, brother. Good luck.
All right. Thanks, man.
That's it.
Bye.
We'll take one more call before I go out drinking.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's fine.
Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from? Hey, caller. What's up?
It's always the last call. It's just sit there and not do anything.
Well, sometimes I can't get their shit together and I give them a second.
Yeah. Hello? Are you there?
Fuck them.
That's it.
All right, guys. How you ready to go, Joe?
Sure.
All right. Let's get out of here. Guys, I want to thank you.
My piece. Yeah.
I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to wish all of you people who celebrate it. And, honestly, it's an American holiday. Merry Christmas, people. When I was a kid with my yarmulke, I was excited to see Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer on television and the Peanuts Charlie Brown Christmas special.
Yeah.
I love that shit. I was jealous of you guys.
And we were jealous of you because you have 8 days to celebrate your
Bullshit.
present.
What do we get? We get a little wooden top, a dreidel. Big fucking deal. It's all about suffering. Anyway, guys, and Joe, I'll probably talk to you maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our Instagrams, mine is at Spencer Kobren. Please follow me. I'm trying to help people. I'm not dancing around doing any commercials or partnering with anybody or any of that typical happy influencer bullshit. Just trying to provide you guys with the truth. And the more you share the content and follow what we're doing and what I'm doing, the more we're able to get this information out to the public who really needs it.
And hit the like button, people.
Yeah,
hit the like button for what we're doing here. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. If you talk to someone out this weekend that's balding and they just happen to bring it up, tell them to watch the show.
Yeah.
You ever think of that? It's free, people.
That's the whole problem, man. That's the whole problem. It's free, and we're also not reviewing people's hair transplants and, making faces like this on our thumbnails.
Faces like, oh. There was a reason Home Alone was a popular movie.
Yeah. We're not performing hair transplants on 22-year-old influencers.
We're not selling laser caps yet.
Well, there could be a day, but we're not bouncing around laser caps.
Cheap Chinese laser caps.com.
And we are not out there selling the cheapest pharmaceutical products on the internet.
White label.
What's interesting about this guy is in his warped mind, and I actually feel sorry for this guy in many ways. He hasn't had to. I shouldn't say sorry. I know this guy has not had an easy life in many ways, but I just find it fascinating that he's willing to go on the air and completely lie about us, about what we do. I'm not going to mention his name.
Oh, yeah.
But
has he had a hard life? A life or just the past few years?
No, I think he's had a hard life, family life, all kinds of stuff that's going on. He's got a lot of personal issues. And, I always kind of wanted to turn the other cheek, and I will. But it's fascinating that a physician would be willing to go out there publicly and say what he said about referring to me and to you, knowing that that's out-and-out defamation.
Well, here's the thing. It's
not an opinion. It's not an opinion. He's stating this stating these things as a fact, and they're completely untrue.
Of course. But it goes even further where it's, because it is a physician. Physicians are supposed to be the best of us as far as their ethics and, and those kinds of things, or at least that's how they've been presented, in media for the past 75 years. But yeah, like you said, I'll tell you what it shows. It shows a lack of self-confidence, maybe even representative of problems in this industry that are happening in his own location.
What's interesting about him is that, I gave him the benefit of the doubt for a long time.
More than I did.
Yes. And
that's for sure.
He actually, rumor has it that he was bullshitting about us at meetings. He spoke to somebody very close to us who, he actually asked about me and made some claim that, and what's interesting is that we're so transparent with what we do, made some claim that I am charging dues for the IHRS, $7,500 a month for IHRS dues. I'm thinking that would be incredible.
That would be awesome.
It ends up being like $50 a day for these guys. It's so cheap. It's cheaper than a punch to be, than a wah punch to be a part of what I do and what we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
My whole point was to keep the dues low for these guys. We wanted to highlight the best doctors in the world and not make it something like it's some sort of a pay-to-play situation.
I wonder how many people he said that to, that you're charging $7,500 a month.
Probably not enough because we're getting like multiple applications every week. But
or maybe it just shows that no one listens to him.
And essentially that he referred to me as the hair loss. Actually, both of us as the hair loss mafia.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking, is this guy that stupid and that out of it? I mean, and the only reason I actually decided to mention the fact that this guy was, I think, performing surgery on someone who's probably not a candidate for surgery is because I continued to hear what this guy was saying about us. And I was like, you know what? Fuck this guy.
Yeah. It wasn't just one time. It was a pattern of repetition.
Yeah. That's the first time I mentioned that, look, the reality is you don't want to go to the biggest influencer for surgery. If there's a doctor out there that is spending all their time in front of the camera, trust me, they have far less time on tissue than a lot of the professionals out there. And in general, I don't want to keep getting into it, but I just sound like Biden for a second. I let it go. And again, I try to be magnanimous. But this guy came out again talking to a guy on his podcast who, he's a nice guy. I respect the guy that he was speaking to because the guy he was speaking to was real quiet about it. But he put that out there in the universe again about us. And I'm just like, this fucking guy. Like,
was this again? That's recent or just the one that we talked about?
Yeah, just the one we talked about.
Okay,
but this fucking guy, like, why not just contact me and say, hey, look, this is bugging me. Let's talk about this. And, is this the truth or did I misconstrue this? And I'd be like, brother, don't you remember how everything went down between us? You invited me to do a Instagram Live. You were you worked under the guidance or trained under the guidance of an IHRS member. You asked me about the organization. I told you about the associate membership program. I opened the door for you since you would have gotten a thumbs up from this particular doctor. Told you the price, which associate membership is like $20 a day. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like a cup of coffee. You come back to me and tell me that you can't afford it. And I'm like, look, the door's open. Don't worry about it, which I thought, I can't afford it. That's pretty strange, but whatever.
Yeah.
I invite him to be a part of the Global Hair Loss Summit. No other conference ever invited this guy. He thanked me. He was like, no one ever, I'm not a part of anything. I don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then he grew. We spoke about becoming a trusted content creator. I explained that, look, you're not in the IHRS. So we can make sure that you're at least an associate member. But if you become a trusted content creator, essentially all you have to do is let people know that you're a trusted content creator and let them know about the American Hair Loss Association, since you're going to be carrying that seal, since we're going to be putting you on the website.
Yeah.
Then he comes back to me and goes, oh, you know what? I have to speak to my marketing people about that.
Like,
and that's
what?
when I knew.
Yeah.
That's when I knew this guy is bad news.
Yeah.
Like, so you don't want to help spread the word that surgery is a last resort. Get your information, get real information from the American Hair Loss Association. If you have questions or concerns about anything to do with hair loss or hair transplant surgery, this is free information. This is the place to go. Before you buy any product or service, make sure they're a trusted brand of the American Hair Loss Association. In my view, the reason, I don't know why I'm putting this out there, but I am. He did also tell me during that conversation that he's going to be starting a new product line, and that's something that we may be able to talk about down the line. And then I told him, he told me about the drug, and I told him, listen, we already have an option from a company that I think is going to be a great trusted brand. They haven't launched yet, but they have dibs on trusted brand status because they were able to provide me with full transparency, and they're not just hiring a telehealth company to do prescriptions, and they're not just buying their stuff overseas and selling the cheapest products. So, I appreciate you wanting me to possibly get involved, but I can't. That was the end of it. That's the truth of that situation. And for those of you who are saying, why are you being so cryptic? You can figure out who it is. Sorry.
I am saying nothing.
Yeah.
I will say he had me on his podcast 2 years ago, I think. Or was it 3? And the episode never aired. It never went
because
online.
you sucked.
Because I sucked.
Yeah.
Oh, because my answers didn't fit the narrative that he was trying to convey about the industry, about patient care or patient education, things like that. And
Look,
yeah.
Here's the thing. I'm not going to hold this, even though he thinks that we are in his warped mind. I'm not holding this against him. I don't give a shit about him. I just think this needs to be put out there. And if he's listening, and this may be sent to him, before you go out and try to defame people online, people are doing good work, who are changing lives. Maybe say, hey, you know what, Spence? This has been bothering me. I want to talk to you about this.
It's a lot easier just to be a hater. People don't like conflict. People don't like confronting other people.
I was going to call him up and I was going to send the video and say, brother, we need to talk about this. But
you think he'd get back to you?
He might. He might.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, listen, I don't know. Listen, he's definitely displayed a tremendous lack of integrity.
Yeah.
But it's possible that, people make mistakes. I like to give people a second chance. He may have been rubbed the wrong way in his mind because he thought that, and now I'm a big shot and you want to make me a trusted content creator. Like, I'm the one who opened the door for you with Global Hair Loss Summit. You wouldn't have been invited to any other meeting if it wasn't for that.
Yeah. Anyway.
Someone's trying to call, but we're not going to take it.
No.
All right, guys, listen. Until next time.
What's the area code? Maybe it's him.
252. No, I don't think it's him.
Or maybe it's Morty.
Yeah, I doubt it.
He chimed in on my Glascaderon video from 2 weeks ago.
That's nice.
Yeah, he commented.
It's really nice that he's showing up.
Yeah, it's nice that he showed up, Morty.
Look, after we got him his free hair transplant, he's good.
He's good. 2 free hair transplants. He's done. And the job that he got. I don't know if he got a job.
Dude, he
We
was.
love you, Morty. We miss you, buddy.
God. I can't even believe what he was doing in that practice. Wild. All right, guys, until next time, first of all, Merry Christmas. Sorry for the rant. I'm going to have to watch that back because I'm sure it's crazy.
We do that sometimes.
Yeah. And follow Joe at Joe Tillman Official on Instagram. You can follow me at Spencer Kobren. Also follow me on TikTok. It's crazy that I'm trying to do TikTok. It's nuts. I can't even believe that I'm on that app. But it's
The thing about
growing.
TikTok,
Yeah.
I actually watch it now, but I set I got the algorithm to feed me music because there's so much good music on TikTok.
It's really
love
weird.
it.
I just have like Brazilian chicks for some reason.
I can't imagine why.
I don't get it. Yeah. All right, guys, until next time, be strong. God bless. Merry Christmas. And thank you so much for listening. Take care.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the program, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by